Meeting. We want to welcome those of you who are with us here at the old courthouse and those who are joining us online. Some of you may be here to provide public comment. The Board of Douglas County Commissioners welcomes public comment and in advance thanks you for following these procedures. Each action item on the agenda will offer an opportunity for relevant public comment about that topic. We ask that you wait until the agenda item you're here for comes up for discussion. Comments related to agenda items are welcomed after the board has an opportunity to discuss the topic. The Board of County Commissioners will invite comments on topics not included in the agenda during general public comment. This would be directly after the consent agenda. This is time for addressing issues not on today's agenda, but related to the general business of the Douglas County Commission. We'll first call on folks who are here in person, then we'll turn to any online commenters who are here with us tonight. If you're here on Zoom, please plan to use the raise your hand function when the time comes and listen for staff to call your name. All comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask everyone to give their full name and Douglas County residence for our meeting minutes. All public comments should be directed to the County Commission. Campaigning for public office is not allowed. We also reserve the right to mute or remove any speaker who is vulgar, rude, or inappropriate. The public should also know that comments received by the Commission during our meetings do not represent the views of Douglas County government. If visual aids are used during the meeting, the presenter will share their screen. Please note that online participants will not be able to view them without a computer, smartphone, or tablet during tonight's meeting. Materials are published online for your reference also. Lastly, a recording of this meeting will be available on our YouTube page and website. Our first order of business tonight is election of officers. So let's start with that, commissioners. Do we have nominations for chair?
This is Commissioner Reed. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Karen Willie to be our chair this year. You've had more than a full year under your belt at this point, and I think you're going to provide some really dynamic leadership and perspective on some of the conversations ahead of us this year.
Thank you.
I'm happy to second that motion. Commissioner Willie would do a fantastic job. She's had experience on the Planning Commission as well, so she knows the role of chair. Do you accept that nomination?
I will accept that nomination. Thank you.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. And I'll turn it over to Commissioner Willie.
Thank you. And I would like to make a nomination, actually, if I may, for the role of vice chair, and that would be Commissioner Reed.
Happy to second.
I will accept the challenge.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, now we'll do the very ceremonial changing of placards and seats.
Didn't really plan for that.
It's what makes it official.
Yeah.
Nope, that's Sarah.
We don't even have
Where
our
are you?
flags out.
Very fancy here at this county commission.
We forgot over our winter break.
All right, pardon that interruption. We're actually starting tonight's meeting with a proclamation, and do either of my fellow commissioners care to read the proclamation for Human Trafficking Awareness Month? Okay. So we have a proclamation for Human Trafficking Awareness Month of January 2024. Survivors of trafficking are among the most vulnerable of individuals. We must work together to address the root causes, as well as create sustainable recovery options for those who have survived these atrocities. Survivor perspectives are important to solving the root causes, and it is important to include survivors and to keep those survivor-informed perspectives at the forefront of initiatives. Organizations that are taking the lead on human trafficking initiatives in Douglas County, Kansas include, but are not limited to, the following: the Lawrence Police Department, Lawrence Anti-Trafficking and Education Task Force, or LATE, the Sexual Trauma and Abuse Care Center, Burt Nash, LMH Health, Lawrence Community Shelter, University of Kansas, RADAC, the Lawrence School District 497, and the Willow Domestic Violence Center. Whereas human trafficking, a modern form of slavery, is one of the largest and fastest growing criminal industries in the world, and is based on recruiting, harboring, and transporting people for the purpose of exploitation. And whereas sex trafficking and labor trafficking occur in Kansas, and both adults and children of any gender, socioeconomic status, race, age, sexual orientation, or geographic location can be victimized. And whereas human trafficking includes sexual, verbal, emotional, economic, and physical abuse and exploitation, all forms of abuse carry long-term complex trauma implications. And whereas Kansas human trafficking laws define commercial exploitation of children, which does not require a showing of force, fraud, threat, or coercion, and references the existing statutory definition of human trafficking and aggravated human trafficking. And whereas the effect of human trafficking reaches beyond its victims and perpetrators, causing disruption in our schools, places of work, and neighborhoods. And now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of Douglas County, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2024 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and urges the citizens of Douglas County to speak out against sex and labor trafficking and exploitation, to support survivors of these heinous crimes, to encourage community leaders to hold offenders accountable, and to make preventable efforts priority by hosting events, by creating policies at work, school, and home, and by supporting and participating in programs designed to reduce and eventually eliminate human trafficking as a societal problem. As a community, we support creating and executing a comprehensive, collaborative, and trauma-informed response for the safety and security of human trafficking survivors, adopted this 10th day of January, 2024. And do we have a member of the organizations who would like to come and speak to that? Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry. Hello, my name is Adrienne Nunez. I'm the Associate Director of External Affairs at the Willow Domestic Violence Center. We are a shelter. We provide support for survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking in Douglas, Franklin, and Jefferson counties. Our service area actually extends to 9 additional counties for our human trafficking services, and we have been serving Northeast Kansas since 2014. Human trafficking is often sensationalized. We see a lot of things online that make it look like someone has to be forcefully kidnapped or held against their will for it to be trafficking. What we know, though, is that a lot of people also experience psychological and emotional restraints. We have, some of the things that we try to do is we do prevention work as well. We talk about grooming. We know a trafficker is going to try to take advantage of vulnerabilities, whether that be someone who is experiencing houselessness, someone who needs help with paying bills, someone who just needs to feel loved and supported. They're going to take advantage of someone like that, figure out what they need, fill that need, and then exploit them for that. So we have served 50 survivors of human trafficking last year for 2023. And we just continue to be honored to be able to serve those clients. We continue to work along with other community partners. Those community collaborations and the prevention work we're doing are the best ways that we can try to combat human trafficking. So I would just like to say thank you again, County Commissioners, for declaring January as Human Trafficking Awareness Month.
Thank you. And Commissioner Kelly has your proclamation. Thank you for that. That brings us to our consent agenda. We have 10 items on our consent agenda. Are there any commissioners, are there any items you would like to pull from the consent agenda for further discussion? I do have one, and that would be item 2.5, emergency communications. So we'll get to that in a moment. Are there any members of the public who would like to pull an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none here. Sarah, do we have anyone online? So I'd like to ask Tony Foster, do you mind coming forward? And Sarah, do you want to introduce it?
Actually, do you want to just take a vote on the remainder
Oh.
of the consent agenda, and then we'll come to that one?
I would entertain such a motion.
This is Commissioner Reed. I move to approve consent agenda items 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.6, 2.7, 2.8, 2.9, and 2.10.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda passes.
Commissioners, Tony Foster with our Emergency Communications Center is here, if you have any questions on that item.
Thank you for being here. I did go online and watch the tutorial for the Rave Smart 911 system, and don't have any issues in supporting that. I just thought that I'd like to ask some questions about how the public's been interacting with that and how communications have been using it, and if there are things that you need from the public to be aware of for using that opportunity.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me this opportunity to speak about the Smart 911 platform. It's a wonderful platform that we've been using since 2014. We have been increasing our numbers of page views, what they call, basically when somebody calls 911 and it interfaces with our system and displays the information that they provide us in their profile. That's gone up about 50% since last year, since we started a public education campaign, and it's continuing to grow. Along with the Smart 911, we have Smart Facility, which allows us to actually identify campuses. So that way, if we have large-scale events within, like, say, the hospital or inside of a school, or there's a couple other facilities in the city, you get multiple calls from that location, it'll show us all the different information for that facility, how to enter the facility, Knox box information, entry information, responder information, and those type of things. The one thing that's nice about the Smart 911 profile is that it is only available to us when somebody dials 911, and only for a very limited period of time. So the caller's information is secure outside of our purview, so it's not something that we can just pull up anytime. So we only can access that information when they dial 911 when they have an emergency. Inside that Smart 911 profile, they can provide us with a lot of different information that we've used over the past, everything from where their medications are, how many pets they have in their house, because, you know, during a house fire, pets are family, and we like to know that information also. We can relay that to our fire department to be able to help them out. Entry information, sometimes in a medical situation where a key is located, we don't want to publicize that, you know, over the air. We can get that information through their Smart 911 profile and be able to get to them faster. So speed is always a necessity in those regards. On top of that, we also are starting to work with the Rave team, and we are going through a addition to the Rave platform to do emergency management functions, also with to be able to see outside agencies for mutual aid, and there's a lot of different things that we're starting to help develop with the Rave platform. So it gives us a plethora of software applications to be able to help us get the right responders to the emergency the fastest way.
When did we start with the Rave 911?
It was in 2014 is when we deployed it. We are the charter member for the state of Kansas, so we were the first member of the RAID platform in the state of Kansas. So that gives us a little bit of a feather in our cap to say that we brought it to the state of Kansas, and now we've been able to see other agencies also grow in that platforms.
Thank you. It also allows for the use of texting, is that right? So can people just text to 911 rather than make a phone call? How does that get initiated?
The Rave platform, when we first got the Rave platform, it was our only way that we could do two-way communication through text. Since then, we've also got another texting platform, so it does give us an additional way, so that way if we have any type of degradation in our current platform, we do have another way that we can use. In the beginning, we used it very, very frequently, almost on a I would say probably 15 to 20 times a day. We were texting back and forth, especially in 911 hangups. That has gone down since we went to the new state system that has text 911. That technology is still there, but we can use that in a redundant backup scenario.
Thank you. Other fellow commissioners, do you have any questions for Tony? I appreciate you coming and giving us some background. I thought that was something that the community should know more about as an option.
Yeah, and if the community is listening and they have any questions about Smart 911, just give us a call. We'd be happy to help them work through the process of signing up.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for item 2.5 from our consent agenda?
Comment. Do you want to take public comment?
Sure. We'll take public comment on this item since we've opened it up. Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak on item 2.5? Or anyone online? No. Thank you. As a reminder, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission for a motion.
Happy to make a motion to authorize Emergency Communications Director to enter into a 5-year contract for renewal of the Rave software suite from February 1st, 2024 to January 31st, 2029 for the total contract cost of $124,387.50.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. That moves us on to general public comment. Is there any member of the public in person here who would like to give general public comment? Thank you. You can come on up and give your name and address and 3 minutes.
I was thinking about how I was going to say this because the young girl was in here, and, you know, that's the one person in this room that could temper my speech a little bit, is somebody underage like that. I've been a while since I've been in here, but your rules need to change, and we're going to come back and revisit those because vulgarities, profane language, things that are rude or insulting, those things are protected under the First Amendment, and I'm afraid that if you can't change those things, I'm going to come in here and help you do that. And Ms. Lilly, I don't want to do battle with you, but you and I may tangle up over this, and I want to caution you about having deputies arrest me or remove me if we do. What I really came in here to speak on was Bert Nash. I came in and met with our county administrator this week and expressed to her some extreme concerns about the treatment and recovery center. When I put out the information about that, I accidentally directed that to the wrong place, directed it to the city commission instead of having all those calls come to you guys. I wish those calls would have come to you guys because there were some severe concerns about the treatment and recovery center creating false battery charges on a homeless person, calling the police on them, and then literally going to trespass somebody from a place that's supposed to help them recover from addiction. And then looking into this even further, I find out that even staff at the treatment and recovery center will tell somebody in there seeking help that we don't provide treatment. So I guess my next order of business would be that place needs to be renamed. It needs to be renamed maybe as the treatment outsourcing agency or something other than implying that they actually do treatment there, because that very simple fact there was very frustrating for the individual. I have the recordings inside the room when this happened, and it was very frustrating for him to find out that he wasn't going to get care where he thought he was going to get care. And it's important that we send the right messages to the community. By and large, there's a good group of people at Bert Nash. There's some bureaucratic bullshit going on though, and that needs to stop. A hot team, the street outreach team, nationwide standards dictate that a hot team member does not manage a caseload. But that's what's happening here. We have hot team members managing caseloads instead of being out there in the streets, making contact with people, preventing deaths in storms. And instead of being able to do that, they're managing a caseload or helping manage a caseload. I've heard sometimes it's half and half. But in any case, those hot team members have to be dedicated to the job that they're doing. And your street outreach right now is a bunch of advocates that have been demonized and trespassed by the city. We're the ones doing that. And it's sad that the city would do that to the people that are actually doing the work. And the last thing I want to do is thank everybody that's contributed to the fundraisers that we've done. I think the number's close to $2,500 to $3,000 we've raised this week to help people. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in person who would like to give public comment? Anyone online? Yes. Okay.
Chris Gorsey, I'm moving you into the panel to provide public comment.
Chris, when you're available, you can come off mute and give us public comment for 3 minutes.
You will never be a real woman. You have no womb, you have no ovaries, you have no eggs. You are a homosexual man twisted by drugs and surgery into a crude mockery of nature's perfection. All the validation you get is two-faced and half-hearted.
I'm sorry, Chris, I'm not sure this is being directed to us.
Your friends laugh at your ghoulish appearance behind closed doors. with a headstone marked with your birth name, and every passerby for the rest of eternity will know a man is buried there. Your body will decay and
I'm
go,
sorry, are you
all
talking
that
to
will
the
remain of
county
your
commission?
legacy is a skeleton that is unmistakably male.
Do we have any other public comment online? Thank you. With that, we'll close public comment and our regular agenda. And we have one regular agenda item for our Trainer HL contract. And Sarah, can I pitch that to you to give us some background?
Yeah, Jay Zimmershed, our Director of Capital Projects, is here to provide a brief overview of the project, where we're at.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jay Zimmershed, Director of Capital Projects. What you have on the agenda this evening is a contract amendment to cover Phase 2 services for the Douglas County Master Plan Revisit and JLE Expansion Project. Phase 1 consisted of a revisit of the master plan that had been performed back in 2019. That work is complete. And this basically, at the time that the services with Trainer were written up and approved, I believe it was early last year, it was written in a two-phase process. Phase 1 is complete. This is an amendment that just allows them to move forward into Phase 2. As you're aware, they're looking at option 4 and variants of option 4, and this will allow for additional development of that option. I think it speaks for itself. At that point, I'd stand. We also have with us Jeff Lane from Trainer HL. We'd be happy to stand for any questions you have.
Commissioners, do you have any initial questions? Okay. Thank you, Jay. We may later. I'll open this up for public comment. Does anyone like to make some public comment on item 4.1? Seeing no one in person. Sarah, do we have anyone online who'd like to make comment? All right, thank you. I will close public comment and bring it back to the commission for any discussion or questions or a vote.
It's rather unique, I think, to see them adjust the amount down. So appreciative of that, Jeff. I'm happy to make a motion, Commissioner Willie. Move to approve execution of the contract amendment with Trainer HL Architects for Phase 2 design services of the Douglas County Judicial Law Enforcement Center addition and remodel project in the amount of 8.1% of the cost of work.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. And that is the end of our regular agenda for tonight. And we move on to appointments and Commissioner Miscellaneous, but I believe we also start with we'll do appointments and then the weekly memo.
I don't have an appointment to quite make, just wanted to give an update that I should be ready by next week, the 17th, to make an appointment for Grant Township and make their board whole again.
Great work. That is a tough one. I do have an appointment to bring forward for commissioners to consider, and that is for the Fire District Number 3. They've had 2 members of their board roll off, and they've finished their available 2 terms. So we have one name to fill that so far, and that is Doug Green. I've had a conversation with him. He's a former captain or chief on the Lawrence Fire Department, retired, lives near their fire station, and has kind of been courted for this position for a while and finally got a yes out of him. So I would, unless we have any concerns, I would gladly make a motion for that.
Happy to second.
Thank you. I move that we appoint Doug Green to serve for a 2-year term, 3-year term? I'd have to look. First term, a full term on the Fire District Number 3, which is Willow Springs.
Now I'll second that.
Thank you. Moved and seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. It passes. There is a second opening at Willow Springs Fire District. There are a couple people that are in conversation over that, so we may have a motion the next time around. Any others? Okay, we'll move to Sarah for our weekly memo.
Thanks, Commissioners. In your memo this week, you've got the 2023 annual report from Emergency Management. Some great information in there on that department and everything they accomplished last year. In addition, we have a 2024 season preview from Little Government Relations and some other information. I also asked our IT director, Starla Jones, to put together an update related to Douglas County engagement, re-engaging back with the state of Kansas judicial branch technology services. And we did connect back up to the state Odyssey computer system in late 2023. And we're working through the security profiles and concerns, and things are going pretty well at this point. And our team, including both the judicial team and our IT team, are staying closely involved with the state as this transition continues. So if you've got additional questions, we can answer those. And we do not have a work session next week, but we will be joining the City of Lawrence City Commission at City Hall for a joint meeting at 3:30 next Wednesday, and then come back here for our regular 5:30 meeting. That's all I have, Commissioners.
Thank you, Sarah. Fellow commissioners, do you have any other updates to share?
For me.
All right, well, with that, we are adjourned.